Well, a formal good evening and welcome. And as I said, always heartwarming to see you and your names and your faces. And I'd like to take this opportunity to wish you a very happy and more importantly, healthy new year. Well, happiness goes with health. So together, happy and healthy new year. And I'm really hoping that as Omicron comes and hopefully goes, we start to regain some normality in our lives. So on the travel front, our government has relaxed some rules this week, and they scrapped the pre-departure tests and also the PCR test for when you return if you're double vaccinated. So we are optimistic that other countries will follow over the next few weeks. It's still a little bit tough to move around. Some countries in Europe, others it's easier to get into. A lot of them right now need a PCR to enter, even if you are double vaccinated. But we're optimistic that's going to go by the end of January. So we'll keep you updated with all that stuff. So now we're almost into our third year of doing our wellbeing at home events. I can't believe it. We started in April 2020. Gosh, well, it can't be 2021. Yeah, almost into the third year. So I have mentioned on some of the emails that I've sent to you and the little message I sent, video message I sent before, that we're going to make some changes to them this year, and we'll put that all on an email, and I'll probably do another little video message around that, and I'll send that out hopefully by the end of this week. So please look out for that. So today, I'm very, very excited to kick off this year's events with Dr Mera, who's from SHA Wellness Clinic. And we've been working with SHA Wellness Clinic for many years, and we're always so impressed with their level of expertise and their leading edge programs that they offer. They're always improving, they're always doing something new. And they're a very impressive setup. And Dr Mera is one of their extremely impressive specialists. To introduce him formally, Dr Mera is the head of Genomic Medicine and Healthy Aging Unit at SHA Wellness Clinic. He is a very highly acclaimed doctor in his field, and he's just won the award of the best European doctor in the field of anti-aging medicine. So we're very honored to have you here, Dr Mera. Welcome.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Well, I'm very pleased to see you and try to give you some information about what we do here in SHA. We are open to the world. I'm very happy to transmit our ideas to everyone.
That's brilliant, thank you. So before we start talking about kind of aging and what we can do to help ourselves as we age, tell us how you got into the field of healthy aging, because is that what you specialized in from the beginning, or?
No. I started the first years as an internal medicine specialist resident in Madrid. I was studying for 6 or 7 years there, and as an internal medicine specialist in a hospital. And I was really realized one day that we just go late always to see our patient. You know, it was very sad for me the first years that people sometimes die and I couldn't do anything. They go and we only hide the symptoms, we only solve the problems late. And I realized, they say, wow, what can we do? Can we go earlier? Because really the fact that made me change was dramatically my own father, you know, because my father was one of my first patients, and he was having a big problem, but something that when we identified the problem was too late, you know. And I was so surprised that for many years he was smoking, was some related to cigarettes. And I say, wow, why we couldn't do anything before? And I realized that from that moment that sometimes is to avoid prevention is cheaper, is better, is earlier. So I decided to try to go further on this way. And I start to see in certain fields like cigarettes, we start with this and try to see how to prevent that illness related, how to prevent people from smoking and to try to follow a healthy way of life. And I start to love this way, you know, because I had wonderful results. Is you don't know, for instance, how sad is the pulmonary disease. The COPD is terrible condition because once you destroy your lungs, there is no reverse. You know, you just need oxygen. It's the only thing that we can do, doctors. So the patient come every 2 or 3 months, you know, short of breath and say, what can I do? And you don't have anything to give to him, just support, just tap the back and say, well, do this symptomatic treatment. And it was so sad. And I start to say to all my patients, please don't smoke. But how can we do that? It's very easy to try to prevent, but I realized that we need a strategy. And it was in the moment that I really started with this anti-aging medicine. So I start to see and I say, well, we cannot improvise. We have to plan a strategy, a clear strategy with tactics and fields and a team to try to do that in a perfect, as much as possible. And then I realized that when we plan, everything is easier, everything is very, very simple. But the only thing that we need is, first of all, know what to do, then do it. And with discipline and routine, this is the 3 things that we need. Know what to do it, and follow it, a protocol with discipline and routine. Unfortunately, routine and discipline is something I cannot prescribe. They cannot buy in the chemist. You know, this is a big problem. So sometimes it's something that they have to decide and then start to introduce into this world with some people, some other members of the team, and we realized that, well, we explant this the cigarettes from some other condition like nutrition. Then I start to do in the hormonal field as well. So we try to see, for instance, in menopause, how important it is to prevent this. It's not necessary to wait until the woman or man has problems with the hormones. We can start to test it and try to find out exactly what is the problem and supply.
Yeah, you're stealing my thunder later with the questions I have for you, so we'll take a step back. And I just want to say, I mean, it's a really great point, because instead of dealing with the problem whilst it's happened, let's prevent it. And unfortunately, our health systems in the West is very much about it's reactive, not proactive. And I think the work you're doing is incredibly important. Can I just ask you, this term actually bugs me, this term of anti-aging, because honestly, we can't stop aging, right? Well, I mean, I know at SHA they call it healthy aging, which is, I feel, a much better thing, but you can't stop the aging process, right?
No. We don't stop the aging.
Yeah.
The thing is that we use the word anti-aging, but is definitely there are many other substitutes. But as everybody knows that anti-aging, by the way, sometimes it makes mistakes because particularly in America, anti-aging sometimes means that only the change of the exterior appearance, so try to rejuvenate from outside. And I have difficulties sometimes to explain to my patient that this is not exactly, I mean, this is part of the solution, but it's not the goal. I mean, it's not what I want to do. I want to go from inside to outside. So we prefer to say healthy aging. Aging is a process that starts in the, 25 years old, probably you get the peak of your aging, and in that moment you start to decline from 25 to, actually it's estimated that we can live until 100 years now pretty well. So the only problem with aging is that is the main factor associated to illnesses. So if you tell me what is the most important factor to become ill, I will say without any doubt how old you are. Tell me how old you are, and I will tell you how many illness are you on risk. So this is the problem. So we can postpone this and try to, in any moment of your aging process, try to fight against these risks. But it's only prevent the risk. So it's not that you go against aging, but you change in any moment the strategy to fight or to prevent the illnesses. Okay, when you are 20, you don't have to do practically anything. When you are 30, you have to start to do something. When you are 40, 50, and so this is what we do. First of all, personalize and individualize the situation according to age and according to genetic information, by the way. This is
okay, that's important. Interesting. The genetic part is another one we'll come to. That's very interesting about genetics. Can I ask you, when we start aging, so like you said, from your, I guess, like 30s, late 20s,
yes,
30s, actually, what does that mean? Does it mean our organs don't work as effectively, our other bodily systems? What does that actually mean?
Well, aging is a very interesting question. The aging, actually, what we have to do is there are a lot of research about that, and why do we have a limited time to exist in life? You know, every species, you can see there are some species that they live only one day. It's a certain insects, they only live one day, but some others will live actually 80 years pretty well nowadays, and some others like whales, they live longer. So what is the process of aging? The process actually is life is movement. So our biology, all the elements of our biology are movement. So we are something like the big bang. You know, we start when you are born, you have a big bang, and this process of expanding the material is exactly happening in our body. The thing is that we have a limit, okay, of this expansion. When the expansion is too much, then we just simply die. And it is probably at the end, the process occurs in our chromosomic information, in the genetic information. So we have to divide constantly to keep alive, to renovate, because you can understand that our material, the biological material, change. Is not made of diamond, you know, our biological material must change. For instance, the red cells, very important to keep the oxygen change every 3 months. Every 3 months you continue complete. But you have to understand that obviously after different cycles of this process, the system fails, and this is what happened, the aging. Every time chances of fail are higher. So that's the reason why aging start to be a problem when you are 50, 60, 70, because any of these problems in the vital or crucial organs could produce death. So we know that, and we can check the situation, by the way, with the telomeric information, and we can see the telomere is something new that we can see, and that's the reason why we die, actually. At the end of
when we talk about that, that was a question, but let's bring it up now, because when I found out about the telomeres, I was just in awe of that as a diagnostic tool. Can you tell everybody what a telomere is and what it
exactly it's exactly that. We remember what we say, that every part of our body change every now and then. Some parts, the red cells every 3 months, the white cell every 3 weeks, and the liver every 6 months, etc. But every time that you divide and you change your body, you have to transmit the information on how to produce, for instance, in the liver, how to produce proteins, in the red cell, how to attract the oxygen, and so on. This information is transmitted in the gene code. We have certain part of the cell in the nucleus, we have this information, and when the cell is divided, transmit that to another generation, exactly like a book. It's something like I give you my book of medicine to my son, and I say, here you have my knowledge. So if the book goes to my son perfectly, then he can read the book and he can do exactly what I'm doing now. But what is the telomere? The telomere is the book. The information has one part that is the genes, the structural information that we have all how to do everything, but there is a cover that has no important information but gives structure to the system. It's like a cover of a book. This is the telomere. It's the external part of the genomic information. And every time that we transmit one generation to the other generation, we use that cover. So like a book, after many generations, actually we can count that it's about 60 generations, the cover is destroyed. You cannot have cover. So the information inside start to be destroyed as well because you don't have the cover. And in that moment, you start to have problems. You start to develop cancer, you start to develop high blood pressure, you start to develop diabetes. So if we can see the length of the telomere, we can estimate how old you are. This is amazing.
So if, for example, somebody is 50, biologically, age
yes.
50, and then you can go in and measure the length of their telomere.
Yes.
Okay, that could give you a completely different age.
Yes.
To completely. What their biological age is. So that telomere could say to you, well, actually, this person has a biological, I should say physiological age, a biological age of 60, but they're actually...
Well, not as extreme, but actually, okay. Yes, we have four ages. One is passport, and the other one is the appearance. So you can see that you can look younger than you are, or you can look older. In our society is really bad to look older, so we would like to look younger always, but there is not a big problem to look older if you are biologically younger or your age. The third age is how old you feel you are. This is very important for me, and normally is associated with some other things, emotions, stress, and so on. I always ask, how old you think you are? And say, well, younger, older, poor of me, I feel bad, I feel good. So normally this is the third age. But the fourth age is the biological age, is actually how you are. And we have actually about 10 years to play with. Actually, I have received today, and I have a big research about that. Normally we have 20 years. So in the same way that we are programmed nowadays to live 100 years, 120 years probably, but we only live 80 in Spain and in Europe and in Japan, in certain countries, in Africa, obviously they live shorter, but as a general rule, we can live 80 years, but we have the potentiality to live until 120. So the same happened with the telomeres. We have our potentiality is to have the telomeres that we have for our age, but sometimes we can waste our telomeres, and it depends on two factors, or we can have longer telomeres. In my experience, the limit is about 20 years. I have seen patients, it was last week, I saw a couple, and she was 47, and biologically, she was 10 years younger. And the man was 49 and he was 10 years older biologically. So look, 20 years in between. Both of them had the same age, but there was a 20 years of difference. And if you look at them, it was really, we go to the anti-aging, the physical, and the appearance was different. She looked wonderful and he looked horrible, but it was clearly because of that. But when we go to the telomere, so we have these 20 years, but no more. But obviously, if you are lucky, you can get these 20 years. But normally, obviously, we are the average. The reason why the telomeres are longer or shorter depends on two factors. In my experience, 50%, roughly 50% is the genes, the genetic information. There are families with wonderful genetic information, and they have all the variants correctly. Remember that we have a lot of variants, And you can be like in a lottery, get all the good variants. For instance, you can play music very well because be Leonardo da Vinci. You know, Leonardo da Vinci was very good at painting, sculpting, thinking, discovering everything well. But obviously, normally, we don't have all the variants good. Maybe if you are good at playing piano, maybe you don't speak languages very well, you know, and these sort of things. But let's suppose that you have the 2 things, the 3, 4, everything, then you get your 20 years. But this is really hard, okay? So the average is that this is the first point. So the variance that you have according to your family. There are families of centenarians and family of people dying very early. This is the one point. I am involved in this research. There are particularly 3 genes that, well, technically names that I don't think that is the place to tell you, but this is technically names, but we know that there are 3, 4, or 5 genes crucial for life, okay? And we are working on that. Why? Because if we can produce and we can modify in first of all in mice and then in human, this is the door to, you know, new medication, new treatments to extend our life, of course. Okay. But this is one point. The other point is the lifestyle. In my experience, this is the other 50%. And that's the reason why I'm in this world of the anti-aging, because I have found that if we cannot modify the whole structure of the aging process, we can modify 50% of that, which is very good, okay? It's pretty 10 years. And it's not only that you live longer, but you can have quality of life. This is the most important, because once we are alive now very easily because of antibiotics, because of healthy food, because of many things, we now survive pretty easily in the, you know, in the first world. But this is not enough. This is not enough. We have to enjoy life, and we have to enjoy all our, you know, attention, memory, even sex in any age. And I have seen patients of 80-year-old and they can enjoy sex very well. So we say, wow, how you do that? Because obviously healthy aging, this is that. But this is only a particular expression of many other factors. So all this lifestyle that we can summarize in 8 factors. One is nutrition, and it's essential, both in quality and quantity. Sometimes we are obsessed with the quality of the food. In my experience, it's most important the quantity. How much do you eat? If you eat too much, you always make mistakes. Now I'm making a lot of mistakes because I'm talking a lot. You know, if I don't talk, I don't make a mistake. One of the rest of the people that I see on the screen, they don't make any mistake about aging because they don't talk. You know, so if you don't eat, we don't have any problem. So quantity more important than quality, but also once you control your quantity, you go to the quality. Second point, exercise, both in cardiovascular exercise in a regular way. So you have to do it. Remember what we say at the beginning, routine and discipline. This is essential. Routine and discipline every single day, 15 minutes of any type of, you know, routine, stretching or Pilates or weights or whatever, and cardiovascular 2, 3. This is very important. The third point is stress, and probably is the most important nowadays, because we know what to do with food. We know what to do with exercise. Everyone wants to do that. But the stress is something that you cannot, the problem is completely different, because when you go to the stress point, the stress is something that you cannot create, you cannot destroy. It's something like energy. You only change the stress. For instance, if you have a stress because of your business, and I say, please take 2 or 3 weeks off, and then you know what happened to you? The stress of your business will put on the stress of your family, because you will be with your family 3 weeks, and this is big stress sometimes, you know. But if I say, no, better go alone, because then you can really have rest, and then you have problems with yourself, you know, you start to say, look at me, I'm old, poor of me, this is sort of thing. So the stress is always there. The only thing, the stress is a matter of time. You have a stress with the things that you are doing in that moment. So the strategy that we follow here in SHA is try not to get rid of stress. This is a bad strategy. What we try to do is deal with stress, plan something to is something like, instead of trying to pray every day, please, no more rain, is try to take your umbrella every day, you know, and if it rains, well, you suck your umbrella. So these sort of things like yoga, meditation, breathing, stretching, these sort of
Can I
things.
just ask you a question? Because I saw a bit of research, it was a number of years ago, coming back to the telomeres, that said that meditation, people who meditated frequently,
They have
had
longer telomeres.
longer telomeres,
Absolutely.
right? And you could actually physically measure that.
Yes.
So that part of the stress, you know, the stress reduction, as you say, through something like meditation or whatever, can actually increase the length of that telomere. Can I also ask you, how do you measure the telomeres?
Well, this is a very elegant technology. We have to go with this. This is a special. We check every organ of our body has a different telomeres. So we have to go to every organ to try to know the. Obviously, this is difficult to understand sometimes when you see that you can keep. I was involved in transplant, liver transplant some years ago, and it was very hard to explain to the donor that the person who was going to give the organ, the liver, was dead. Because actually, when for instance, let's suppose that it's an accident and the family goes to see that person and the person is in the intensive care, the heart is pumping, you know, boom, 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 and say, wow, but are you going to take the liver now? And he say, yes, we are going to take the liver now. If you give me permission, I will take the liver and put the liver in another person. And he say, wow, but is he? Well, because the concept of death is something that is not easy to understand. You know, you die when your brain is completely flat and you have no electric activity in your brain. But we can keep artificially the heart, we can keep artificially alive some other organs. So what we do is, it's impossible to go organ by organ. It's not practical. It would be very expensive and difficult and not interesting, by the way. So what we do is take the white cells, the leukocytes, that they are circulating through all the body. So we take the leukocytes and we take one leukocyte at random and we measure the length of the telomere by some system is using some radioactivity, some system that we call a Q-FISH system. It's a very interesting point. We measure with electronic computers and so on. It's complicated, but we can make
blood test. So let's simplify it.
It's a blood test, very easy.
And then you take, and then you through this radioactive material, whatever.
The practical, for you, the practical interest is take a blood sample. We check the leukocytes with no side effect, nothing at all. We check it that, and we put in the laboratory with very, very complicated. Actually, the person who described this system was a team of 3 doctors in America were awarded with the Nobel Prize. So they try to imagine that it was really, really difficult and essential for life. Okay, so without this system. And we have...
Do you do the telomere tests at SHA?
Yes, because we have a very good relationship with one of these person was working in that team of Nobel Prize awarded. It was Maria Blasco, which is an Spanish researcher, and it was very close to us. And we start to do that with her. And she has the laboratory in Madrid, and we are doing this with her. Okay, so we have
the telomere is really the best way to establish your real your biological age.
Yes, if you want to know, yes.
Yeah. Okay, if you really want to know, that's the best way. And then I'm just summing it up again. So coming back to maximizing your biological age, we have nutrition being the one thing, the quality, but more important, the quantity. So overeating, you believe, is one of the biggest issues that the Western people in the West have.
Absolutely.
We just eat too much. We just eat too much, right?
Yes.
And we can have like good quality food, but if we eat too much of it, it makes no difference if it's quality or not, right?
Yes. We're talking about, first of all, extension lifespan, only lifespan, but you can estimate that. For instance, a person overweight that should be, let's say, 50% of his weight, I'm talking about someone who should be 60 or 70 kilos and is 100 kilos, he can reduce his expectancy of life by 10 years. 10 years. So it's a lot, okay? And if the weight is 100% more than you have, for instance, if you should be 70 kilos and you are 140 kilos, I have one guest now that is 140 kilos, is twice your weight, then you reduce 20 years your expectancy of life. So people that normally will live, I insist, about 80 years, you will live instead of 80, only 60 years. So this is amazing. And obviously, it's not only that you live shorter, it's that the last 5 years, probably, you will have a lot of visits to the doctors, diabetes, cancer, you know, a lot of things. It's not only that you make your life shorter, but also you make more difficult the last year. So this is what we want. When on the other side, when you make your lifespan longer, it's not only that you live longer, but the last years of your life, you don't go to doctors. You just die one day of a heart attack.
Yeah, a quality lifestyle, as you say, because I know that is really important to you. And you said that earlier as well, about having a full life, yes, being the best version of yourself at any time of life, you know, so even if you're in your 80s or 90s, you have a quality of life, because we could live to 100, but we could have cognitive disease, we could have, exactly, you know, and then what kind of life is that at that point? You know, it's being a life that you can live to the fullest.
But in my experience, when you do everything well and you live longer, I have here people of 80s, in their 80s, 90s, doing perfectly, playing golf every day, you know, wonderful memory, painting, reading, making love without any problem, because it's something that you don't understand. Why? You believe that at the age of 60, you have to forget this problem. No, there are many other things that you can do, and you can have a wonderful life in all things, enjoy everything, emotionally, physically, everything, with some limitations, obviously, because when you are 80, you have some, normally, the limitations come not from the memory. If you do your best, the problem is not the memory, it's always the mobility, you know, elasticity. This is something that is hard. That's the reason why exercise is very important, to have a routine. I have seen today one patient that was 63, and he put the hands on the floor immediately. I say, can you do that? I say, yes, of course, blah. I say, wow. I say, very elastic person. I say, what do you do? And you know what she said? She said, every day, every morning, I do that. That's the reason why I can do that without any problem. You know, routine. This is very important.
So Prince Philip here, who just recently passed away last year. I mean, he was known, wasn't he, for doing his routine, his workout every morning. And I think it's that consistency, you know, not like just a once a week thing.
Yes.
It's really, really interesting. So we talk about, so we've got the food, we've got the movement. Stress is the big one.
Yes, the big one.
There was a question there about if your telomeres are shorter, can you lengthen them? And the answer is yes, right? You can lengthen them.
So you can actually. We can. I have seen that. Normally, it takes 1-2 years. One measurement is not enough, so we do that because this is just a snapshot. We would like to know the field. You know, how are you, the trend, and we can extend. And up to 1-2 years, we can see differences, of course. If you change your life, we haven't talked about toxins. This is another point.
Yeah, let's talk about toxins.
And we do a very good protocol of detox of, we know, particularly cigarettes. Remember, we started the conversation with that point. Cigarettes, and a smoker of 20 cigarettes can reduce 10 years, his expectancy of life. So look, if you add 10 years because you smoke and 10 years because you are overweight, it's 20 years. It's amazing that you are wasting. So this is something that we can modify. So cigarettes, alcohol is another problem that we also try. Alcohol in moderation is even healthy, but the problem is that we drink too much. We cannot say no. It's impossible to leave a bottle of good wine open. You know, we have to finish the last drop of alcohol. We have to enjoy 1-2 glasses and that's all. But here we have, but I understand that we have to enjoy life. And that's the reason why my advice in these cases is daily detox with some supplementation. If you cannot do a perfect life, well, you can detox. And now and then, every year, every 2 years, have a strong detox, come in like places like this and do a good detox, intravenous protocol and so on, okay? This is very important. Hormones is the other point.
Let's talk about hormones now, because I remember when I was in SHA a number of years ago, I remember meeting you at the time, and we talked about hormones, and you said to me, and I found it fascinating, you said to me, this is not just for women and menopause, this is for men.
Absolutely.
And you talked about how our hormone imbalances causes so much imbalance in our whole bodies, you know.
No, this is exactly for men and women. You are correct. The problem is that you, with women, you have a very easy way. When you go, I ask women and say, when do you have your menopause? And immediately you know exactly, it was last year, it was, I feel I'm sometimes failing every 2-3 times this year. So it's very easy for a woman to say that, realize that she is in between 45 to 55 to realize that it's in this period. But obviously, because the other symptoms of menopause, unfortunately, are like infidelity. The interested person is the last one to realize that there is a problem, you know. It's very funny, yes, because the person say, no, I'm wonderful, I'm wonderful. That's the reason why in men, it's very hard to identify the problem, because we ask the men, well, how are you doing? And say, no, I'm perfect. And what about your mood? I'm perfect. Why do you ask this question? You know, these sort of things. Are you have hot flashes? No, not at all. But please, can you open the window? It's a little bit fresh air now, and this sort of thing. So you never realize that you have a problem. It's the people surround you who suffer this, particularly the mood, the memory, the sleep, because it's tremendous. The problem with the sleep, when you get this imbalance with hormones, you cannot sleep. It's amazing. You the whole night with your eyes open, and there is no reason, no stress, nothing. So we check that. And in men, it's very easy. The hormonal problem is very simple. It's more difficult for me to try to inform the patient, and that the patient, man or woman, realize that there is a good option to substitute hormones, you know, that the treatment itself, because the treatment is just supplement what they need: testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone for women, and also testosterone. This is a big problem. Testosterone, a small amount of testosterone is very important for women to keep the muscle, because with the pass of the time, during the menopause, the women start to lose muscle. So the testosterone increases a little bit this possibility. But I insist that it's easier for me to give the treatment that discuss with the patient the problem. Why? Because they say, for instance, doctor, I don't think that this is natural. I have to say something. I want to live. I don't want anything external. I say natural. And I give one example. I have records in Spain, but the same in the UK for 19th century, for instance. In the 19th century, we, as an average, we live, now I'm saying every moment that we live 80, 85, but in the 19th century, we live until our 50s or 45, you know, it was the expectancy of life was 45 or 50. So if you see, the menopause was not a problem in the 19th century, because everyone died as an average before the menopause. So there was, in my books, my grandfather's books, he was a doctor, I never see the menopause as a problem. I didn't read it. They don't study that. It's not a problem for them. The problem is now that we live longer because of the quality of life, because of better nutrition, because of exercise, because of medicine in general, we live longer. So now, women and men, we have menopause. And then we have, so as we are human beings for millions of years, probably as a species, as Homo sapiens, so the menopause is a problem that we have only in the 20th and 21st century. So what is natural? Natural is not to have the menopause. So now what is going to happen now with the human beings because they are having menopause? Well, a lot of problems. And that's the reason why we have to give very easy solution to that.
Supplementation. So I know you're a big advocate of bioidentical hormones.
Yes.
So you do,
This is another thing.
You balance that, and then you take that across. How for how many years should people be doing that? Should people be doing that in their 70s and 80s, or just in
this is something very interesting. So we first of all we have to start early. Don't wait until you have the problem. This is easy in anything. Okay, don't start to change the strategy of your business until you get bankrupt. I think that you have to, when you notice that there are some markers that say, well, sales are coming down, the word is bad, well, you have to change your strategy. The same happened with aging. You don't have to wait until there is a big problem. So start in your 45, 50 to try to see what it is. First of all, it's very simple, test. As it's true that the manipulation of hormones is difficult, and sometimes we can have side effects. So to minimize the side effects, we can, first of all, what we do in SHA is with the genomic information, we can see there are 3 groups of people. Those who respond well. So you give the hormones and they feel much better, they rejuvenate, they improve the memory, the attention, the sexual life, the muscle, everything. The second group, they have wonderful results. Well, I have received sometimes, 1 email or 2 every month saying, doctor, you have changed my life. So that's the reason that made me continue with this, because really I receive 1 or 2 emails every month saying, doctor, I don't know why my doctor, my GP, my endocrinologist, he didn't tell me. Because sometimes you go to the endocrinologist or the doctor and say, are you alive? Everything is all right. Why do you want hormones? Why do you want anything? If you survive, why you want to have risk? But life is not enough. We want to see, it's something like in the third world, when you give food to these African people, for instance, then there will be a moment that they want to go to the cinema, they want to go and ride a bicycle, they would like to enjoy life. It's not enough just food. So doctor, please, I need life, not only just be alive without knitting, watching the TV series. This is not the way. So we can improve.
I love that.
So this is
living life.
Yes, this is very important. So we will do that. The third group, however, could have side effects. So what we do is with this genomic variation, we can identify the third group. Remember, one group well, the second group very well, and the last group side effects. Obviously, we have to evaluate side effects. If you have side effects because of the risk of cancer, thrombosis, cardiovascular, we can identify. We have the capacity now to identify this in advance. So I do some tests for my patient, and I say, well, with better weight, we'll better go to more conservative treatment. There are precursors, there are herbal medication that we can do. This is what we call the bioidentical. First of all, try to identify risks. And if you are a good candidate in group 1 or group 2, then you can take it without any problem. If you are in third group, better don't try. The third point is to minimize. We have to follow exactly what Mother Nature does. What does it mean? The hormones, let's suppose that the hormones are butterflies. You have a beautiful garden and you want to put in that garden, because your interiorist say, I would like, or your client say, I would like butterflies in my garden. Okay, butterflies. I can go to New Mexico and buy a lot of monarch butterflies and put it in your garden. Obviously, they will disappear in 2-3 hours. Why? Because they fly. So the hormones in life are like butterflies. They have a process of metamorphosis. It's a very complicated process. So from cholesterol, they transform every now and then into a different thing with different effect, by the way. They don't have big effect until they are butterflies. It's exactly the same. So if I want to keep your butterflies in your body, I have to put also caterpillars. And those caterpillars to create an ecosystem in the body that make it sustainable. And you can keep it that. Some doctors, they don't give that. They say only estrogen, only progesterone, but there are some other hormones that they are called, maybe it sounds DHEA, pregnenolone, some precursors that are intermediate, that they produces little effect, but they create the ecosystem in your body to have more, and you minimize side effects. Obviously, if I give you a big and a strong estrogen, you will react very well. You will feel fine and no problem, but you can have side effects, you can have cancer and so on. So this is that. And the last point.
Oh, sorry, before you can I ask you a question? If there are people who are over, say, the age of 60, who haven't, because this whole thing about identical hormones and hormones, it's quite a recent, it's only been really the last 5 years that it's become something like that. It's become popular. So if you haven't been able to do that and you haven't done that and you're over 60, what can you do?
Yes, normally the limit is, there is not all expert, we are in agreement with this, but we think that before 60, there is no problem at all. Even if you have been waiting, if you have menopause, for instance, at the age of 50, and you have 10 years without any supplementation, we can start without any problem at the age of 60. After 60s, there are the chances of problems, and obviously your body react in a different way when you have had 5-10 years of this. So what we do in those circumstances is only the caterpillars, only the to create a new imbalance, so you don't manipulate too much. Okay, so but there are strategies, but every case is different. If your genetic information is very good, you don't have any variant concerning thrombosis, you don't have any variant concerning cardiovascular disease, you don't have a cancer at all in your family, and you don't have, well, there is no reason for you to not to take it at the age of 65 or even more. Okay, and when to stop was the other question. At this age, sometimes is something like don't start, don't stop. I mean, if you are all right with your hormones, for me, it's really hard. I remember some weeks ago, one woman, my patient, with the doctor, and the doctor say, "Doctor, my mother has been taking hormones for many years. I think that we should stop." And he say, "Well, why?" And she say, "Well, because she is 70. And I say, "Well, but the risk, we have tried and investigate everything, and she is not at high risk of anything. So why to stop? There is no necessary. She can stay." It's very sad to stop the hormones in a person of this age when she was feeling wonderful, And it was very curious that it was not the patient. Obviously, when I look at the patient, he said with one eye, yeah, I don't want to stop, because it's something very curious with the aging process. And is one of the things that more curious that I have come across is that we cannot imagine our life in the future. It's very hard. We live, this is a very important process of anti-aging. I try to transmit to my patient, because the first thing that I do is we drive our life in terms of health with the rear mirrors. We always look at the past. So that's the reason why we feel sad, because we be old. You think that the last all good times, always better in the past, which is a big, big mistake. So the first thing that I do is take a tissue and clean the windscreen. And I say, look, you have, for instance, if you are 60, you have 20 years in advance. You have 20 years to do things in your life. When you realize and you clean your windscreen and you see yourself with 80, like the Queen of England or David Attenborough, hunting crocodiles with 90-year-old, then you realize, wow, I have to not waste my capital of health. I will take care, I will keep my health for these 20 years that I have in advance. But if you only live the present and the past, then you waste your capital. And it's very sad, because we live and it must change. This is my opinion, that we think that the past moment was always better than the future. And it's a big mistake. Why? Because you haven't lived your future. Let's suppose that you have for any reason, a new husband or wife, a new family, a new business, but maybe better than the previous one. So how you don't know that? How you know that? in advance. So don't say that you are living your best moment now. You live, I have the opportunity, the potentiality to live in your 80s. But you say, but wow, I cannot imagine a new relationship in my 70s. Wow, because you haven't seen me. If you come to see me, I you put you perfect for the 70 year. You can do everything. So this is something curious.
It's true, but I think we've been kind of conditioned to think youth is the best. But let me ask you, because we're getting some questions about this. So we've gone through some of the factors. So we've gone through nutrition, we've gone through hormones, we've gone through stress, we've gone through
sleep. Another point.
Exercise. Sleep, yes. Sleep is super important.
Sleep is very important. Sleep is actually is the most underdiagnosed condition. Okay, so all those who snore, for instance, all those who feel that they have problems with the sleep, they have problems. When we do here tests, it's very simple. During the night, I never rely on what the patient says, because how can you trust someone who is sleeping telling you, well, it's impossible. So we do tests. And we have this with a sort of robot, we can monitor the whole night, and we can check if you sleep, if you don't sleep, if you snore, if you move, if you grade and it's very important. Obviously, the best way to know if you sleep well or not is answer this question. Are you tired early in the morning after a good sleep? And you say, if the answer is yes, you have a problem. Absolutely sure. Because after pretty 7 hours of good sleep in good condition, you should be completely relaxed and rest. If you feel tired, if you snore or something like that, that means that we have to, and sleep could be part more than the extension of your life with the sleep problems. What we do is the quality of life. For me, sleeping is essential. This is another email that I receive every month. I receive 1 or 2. Doctor, you have changed my life. Why? Because you don't realize that the problem with the sleep is something like the growing of your hair. Every day is growing, but you don't realize that. And you are every day tired. You look at the eyes of the patient and they are bad. You don't rest, and you say, what happened to me? And you blame on circumstantial evidence. Stress, my family, I work too much, blah, blah, blah. And you then say, well, I have a sleep apneas, or I have problems with the sleep. It could be not only physical, because the sleep problems could be physical, sleep apneas, grading, many problems, or it could be emotional. You have stress and you don't sleep and you don't rest.
So people are putting this in chat. We've got nutrition, exercise, stress, sleep. We've actually got hormones, number 5. Number 6, we had toxins.
Yes. Right? And number 7,
we have to do detox and
we have to prevent or detox. Or the two things at the same time. The other point is very important is digestion. Your digestive. Yes. We have, remember, there is a very important brain-gut connection. And the digestion is essential for extension of the lifespan, but it's also essential for quality of life. Look, nothing is worse than being bloated the whole day, feeling unwell, and you can feel tired. You have brain fog. When you have toxins, you have intolerances. We check here everything. We have probably the most comprehensive test ever concerning intolerances, absorption of substances, microbiome. We test all the microbiome, prebiotics, probiotics, all type of flora, and it's essential. Nowadays, we are paying a lot of attention to the flora as a second, brain connection, and they change your hormones. They can produce obesity. They can produce a lot of illness, cancer, of course. So it's very important to, first of all, check it. It's very simple. We can check with a stool sample and some breath test to see if you absorb, if you are tolerant to certain substances. Again, it's very difficult because these intolerances occur 3 or 4 days after you eat. So it's very hard to say, for instance, if you are gluten intolerant, because you eat now the piece of bread and you have the bloating 3 or 4 days ago. So it's very hard. And sometimes, you say, I love it. For instance, sugar. There are many people, sugar is a second problem, is a toxin as a content, and it's also producing intolerance of anything. So this is very important part of our, very, very important.
The final one, number 8.
The final one is the immune system. The immune system, we have to boost your immune system. And now in times of COVID is particularly important. We have a specific program for boosting. And we have seen that, for instance, people in the same circumstances with the same viral load, if their immune systems are all right, well, in a couple, sometimes you see that both should be contagious because of that. And I have seen that one of the couple, for instance, they caught the virus, the corona, and the other one no. Why? If they are in the same circumstances, because the immune system, of course. The immune system is essential for infections, for the two invaders, infections from external invaders like virus, bacteria, and so on, and they can kill you, as simple as that. So this is crucial, the immune system. And we boost nowadays with this, we have a lot of substances to boost. And the second point, but in the same way that the telomeres, something like as simple as relaxation could improve and boost your immune system. And the second point is cancer. The immune system is something like the police of your body. So the police is looking for the borders and try to avoid invaders from outside, but also looking for terrorists inside your body. And this is cancer. So if you boost your immune system, you block. Overactive immune system could be also bad. And then you can have autoimmune disorders. There are many, many autoimmune disorders. So we have to balance the immune system. And this is essential for both life extension and quality of life, of course. And if you get everything perfect and everything goes neatly, and we repeat, nutrition, exercise, stress, toxins, sleep, hormones, of course, and digestive systems and immune system, if everything is all right, you can live nowadays 120 years without any problem.
Wow, amazing.
But this is absolutely
all of those together.
It's very difficult.
With a full life, huh?
Yes, but it's very difficult. Let's see if you can control 80% of this. Maybe you can live. You can be centenarian. You know?
And I think you're right about like your genetic makeup as well. I think also like genetically, if you do have more illness and people getting sick, it's almost like you have to try harder, right? You have to make more of an effort, and that's that whole field of epigenetics, which we'll talk about another day. But it's been, gosh, you have so much information. We could talk for like 5 hours. It's just so interesting, and I love your analogies. I love the analogies about the caterpillar and the butterfly and the police force around you, your immune system, because you make it really like easy to understand, and how we do all of these. Now, if people want to come to SHA, they can do all different types of programs which kind of lead to the same place, I guess. But I know you have a lot of people who come to lose weight, and it sounds to me like weight is one of the big things here, like one of the major things. So you know, and I know SHA do a really good job with weight loss, but it feels like for many years, well, for a number of years, it's like people are worried to talk about weights, but I think we have to be really clear and honest and open that weight is not good. You know, excess weight is not good for your health, and that's just it, full stop. So so you can come to SHA, you can do immunity programs, you can do weight loss programs, you can do rejuvenation programs, and you can do all this testing as well that you talk about with telomeres and everything else. And we can do the genetic test to know the predisposition, because remember that we have a long you know, workout to try to identify. This is something only for people psychologically prepared for that. You know, I have this, and they say, you like to know, for instance, the propensity, if you are going to have, for instance, dementia, and sometimes the patients say, no, I don't want to know that because I'm not mentally prepared to know what can I do. This is a big mistake. So 10 minutes, I try to inform the patient the importance of information. Information is powerful. We have to be prepared. Let's suppose that you have a business
and you have a multinational, and you have a shop in Singapore, and in Singapore they call you and they say, well, someone is taking the money from the cash, and you say, no, don't tell me that, don't tell me that. No, what we have to do is accept the information and act in consequence. You can do nothing. You say, well, it's my friend, so let it be, or it's my daughter, or do whatever, or do something. So, and we can prevent practically, and I want to finish with this idea, we can prevent practically everything. Practically everything. Look, there is some example, very simple. This is the theory. In theory, we can prevent everything. All these genetic tests, for instance, I can detect if you have the gene of Alzheimer. There are several genes. It's not only one. It's not so that simple, but I try to simplify. And then what can we do? There are many things to do. If I tell you something, I can identify the gene of being woman or man. I know that you are a woman, but maybe you are not real and you are a man, you know? So I have to do a gene test to identify that you are a woman. Maybe you are a trans and you are looking like a man. So I do the gene test and I identify that you are a woman. But so I will see that you are at high risk of pregnancy, obviously. Sorry, I lost the way. Well, so you have risk of pregnancy, but pregnancy is a wonderful thing sometimes, but it's not so that good in other circumstances. So you can prevent that. How can you prevent it? Well, far away from men. So if I tell you that you are a woman, it doesn't mean that you are going to have pregnancies. So the same happened with dementia. If you have the test, there are many things that we can do, many things. The problem is that we never ask, we never Google all these conditions because we don't care. But if I give you one example, when I started in Madrid to study medicine, then there was a condition that is cystic fibrosis. It's a very common condition. I don't know if you have ever heard about that. Very common in children and so on. Very sad because they have many problems with the pancreas, with the growing and so on. When I started medicine, in my first books, they didn't say the reason for that. So I remember that perfectly, like yesterday. Professor, what is the reason for cystic fibrosis? And my professor that say, I don't know the reason. Well, now we know that it's a gene. After many years, we have identified there is a gene for that. And last year, by the way, the first patient in the UK, by the way, received a treatment and revert that genetic problem. Look, in only my life, which is 35 years, we have from knowing nothing about that to treat the problem. But who was the first person to treat it? Well, the first patient who went to the doctor and received the genetic test, and he knows that he has the cystic fibrosis, you know? What does it mean? If you don't have the genetic test for dementia, who is going to give you the first treatment for dementia if you don't know that you suffer from that, if you don't know what is the gene that you have? But on the other hand, if you have that, you have to be mentally prepared, you have to Google, you have to go to doctors, I have this problem, what can I do? What can I do? Without obsession, but with some strategy. I think that's life. This is the mature way.
I think people think that if it shows up on their genetic test, it's inevitable, but it's not inevitable. It's not inevitable. It can be, it's information, it's valuable information that can help you
Look at
prevent it.
Angelina Jolie, for instance.
Yeah.
She had this test of the BRCA1, BRCA2, and she knew that she was going to develop cancer. Obviously, she take an attitude and she say, well, I cut my breast. And then obviously, this is something very strict and, very extreme. I don't know if I would do that in the same way, but obviously what is sure is that she is not going to develop breast cancer, So yeah. It's exactly that. So it's your own. Once you have the information, you make your own decisions and you do nothing, you just wait, but you can have a healthy way of life. There are many other factors interfering in the breast cancer, including obesity. This is a trivial question for you. You know what is the most relevant factor with the highest impact in the production of breast cancer?
Obesity.
Obesity,
yeah,
exactly.
I know that. But our doctors don't talk about it.
Yes.
No,
So,
no one talks about that. And
when you prevent and you reduce your weight, it's not
yeah,
only reducing your shape,
yeah,
you are also preventing a very sad problem for you and for your family, by the way, because we are not alone. Because you know what I have? Sometimes my patients say, objection, I'm alone. I want to live. I want to enjoy life. Don't tell me this. Don't tell me the other thing. I want to enjoy life. And I say, you are not alone. You have families around you. And don't think that your decisions are only for you. You have people around you. Even your doctor could be sad. I can be sad if you die, you know? So we don't realize that we are not alone. And then this type of decision should be, you know, you have to think about that. At least think. Sometimes we just dismiss and we don't think about that.
yeah, yeah. But we just take each day. But this is a really nice preventative, you know, we usually in our events, we talk about preventative health. We
Yes.
talk about natural forms of preventative health. I found this session extremely interesting because we've taken a medical approach to preventative health.
Yes.
And through all the technology and the medical approach, we can be very precise, and it can be very interesting, a very effective way of,
Yes.
as you say, leading a longer but more fuller life. And I thank you so much for your passion, your work. It's incredible. It's just
I want to finish with something very curious that I say to all my patients. And I say always, health is the best business of your life. Actually, is the most important. In business, you can be efficient or you can be highly efficient. What do you want to be with your health? You can be mediocre, you can just pass the exam, or you can be the top of the class. This is your own option. So when you want to be the top of the class, why not? But you don't have to be the top of the class, but at least pass the exam. You have to pass the exam. And there is a certain things that you must do. And we dismiss, and we drink more than we should. We are overweight, we don't exercise, we eat all what we have, what we like, instead of all what we need, and these sort of things. So when we think that health is something that we can treat and plan with this asking experts, because if it is a business, why not to go to an expert? I suppose that you have advisors. You have to say, well, tell me, I don't know anything about marketing. Please tell me, what should I do with marketing? Well, you have to go to the expert and say, doctor, tell me, what can I do? But not only do what you think that is good. And you need experts. And this is the difference between being efficient or being highly efficient. And it's very simple. Just come to places like this.
Yeah. Well, I'm motivated. I'm going to come to, you've motivated me. I'm going to SHA. And I'm going to bring my husband with me as well. Make sure he has all the tests. So you've motivated me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And I'm open to anything. You can give my email to everyone, and we can, if there is any particular or question that I can solve, I'm more happy to do that. But what I want to invite everyone to come here, at least to have a small experience, because I think that it was Benjamin Franklin who said that, tell me and I'll forget. Teach me, maybe remember. Involve me and I will remember forever. And I want to involve you. The only way to be involved is to be in this environment, do it yourself, do this test, practice, check your telomeres, do your hormones, check your digestion, check your immune system, and realize that we can change. And there is very simple, and it's not, it's time consuming, but obviously we have to, prioritization is essential in life, and not only is this our business, even our family. We learn one lesson every day with the stewardess. When you fly a lot, I suppose, and we never paid attention to what they say. They say, the staff, the crew say, in the unlikely event of a sudden cabin decompression, the mask, the oxygen mask will drop on, take it and breathe normally. We all know that, we don't pay attention, but after that, they say something really, really important, because we always put excuses. We say, I have family, I have business, I have many things. And they say, if the first person who has to use the mask, who is the first person? You. They say, if you have people, children, all people around you, put your mask first and then help the rest. So this is something that we have to do. In terms of health, we have to take care of ourselves first and then help. If you have business, what happened with the rest, all your employees that depend on you? Well, they will die, they will not survive. So you have to be careful, be healthy, be well. So we have to change a little bit our philosophy of life sometimes, okay? Because we live the present, we live the pleasure, and we don't put in consideration all these sort of things without obsessions, okay? Because in the other side, there is the obsess, only health, only, no. We have to balance, obviously, but you can find the balance to try to find, enjoy life, but well, take care of your health, okay?
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant note to end on. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for coming along and hearing this wisdom. Great motivational talk, as well as packed with lots of great information. Wishing you all a wonderful week ahead. I'll be in touch on email during the week.
Yes.
And have a great week ahead. Wonderful.
Oh, you too. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you,
And
Dr.
wonderful
Mera.
year. And I'm looking forward to seeing you here soon. I suppose they will come soon. Okay.
Yeah.
And everyone, of course.
Yeah, of course.
To decide in terms of rejuvenation, we are in a point with this 45 to 60. There is a very, very big decision that we take here in SHA. I always say to my patient, you have to make a decision. Is what do you want? To push the trolley of your grandchildren, or that they pull your wheelchair in the future? What do you prefer? This is the decision that you have to take, and you have to take it in your 50s, okay? After that, it's too late. So
I don't think, is it too late, really?
No, we can. No, you can say roundabout, okay? So think about this wheelchair, okay? Thank you.
Take care. Lovely to see you.
Bye. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye to everyone.